how can we make our audience feel so good, so excited, so pumped up that there is a natural momentum in the room? I have enough belief in my competence to declare and own the positive impact that I am creating. I'm introducing it in this subtle, gentle, strategic way that positions me as a highly competent and confident leader, but also as someone who is highly inspirational and likable.
Welcome to The Art of Speaking Up, a podcast that helps professional women access the limitless potential that lies within them. I'm your host, Jessica Guzik, and my mission is to help you find that spark inside you that has the power to transform your career in ways you may not have thought possible. I'm so excited that you're here. And now, on to the show.
Welcome to the Art of Speaking Up podcast. Today's episode is all about helping you sound confident when you speak. When you know that you are sounding confident, not only do you feel better about your own delivery, but also your audience will trust you more. We tend to trust and respect people who are good at conveying confidence when they speak. So when you get good at this, your audience begins to think more highly of you, which helps you build a reputation as a capable leader and ultimately get promoted within your organization. Now, when it comes to sounding confident, you have two levers at your disposal to help you do so. The first way that you can increase the confidence that you exude are through what I call nonverbal signals. Nonverbal signals include everything from your body language to the tone of your voice to the eye contact that you're making with the people you're talking to. The other lever that you have at your disposal to convey more confidence are through verbal signals. When I say verbal signals, what I mean is that the words that you're using are conveying to your audience that you are confident. Today's episode is about the latter. Today, I am teaching you verbal signals that will help you convey confidence when you are speaking. AKA, I'm going to teach you how to use the right words so that your message lands as super confident. Now, if you're interested in the other method, AKA how to use nonverbal signals to convey confidence, I have an entire episode that I created on that topic, and I will link it in the show notes. But for today, I'm going to be teaching you 3 verbal patterns that you can use to convey confidence when you are speaking. The 3 verbal patterns that you're going to learn today are number 1, being conclusive, number 2, being directive, and number 3, being enthusiastic. For each one, I'm going to teach you what the tool is. I'm going to share examples of what it looks like in a sentence so you can better understand how to use it. And we're also going to talk about some of the internal confidence struggles that might get in the way of you using these tools and taking up more space in the way that you speak. I'm very excited. I have a lot to cover, so let's get straight into the first tool that I'm going to teach you, which is being conclusive. Being conclusive means that when you speak, you are going one level beyond just sharing the information and you are drawing a conclusion about what that information means for the business. So let me give you an example. Instead of saying something like, this marketing campaign generated a 10% increase in sales, you would say, this marketing campaign generated a 10% increase in sales. This tells us that our messaging is working, and I think we should continue to double down on it. So in this example, you're not just sharing the core information, you are telling your audience what you think that information implies about the business. When we speak in this way and we draw deeper conclusions, it does 2 things that signals to our audience that we are confident. Number 1, It shows our audience that we have a deep level of competence when it comes to the work that we do. When we are drawing conclusions, what we're saying to our audience is, I know my work so well that I'm not only going to walk you through it, I'm going to tell you exactly what it means for you and for the business. And when we send that message to our audience, that is a message of confidence. That is us saying, I know what I'm doing. The other reason that being conclusive conveys confidence is it shows that we're not afraid to have a perspective. We're not afraid to put a stake in the ground and say, here's what I think. And so many people in a corporate environment are too afraid to do this. People are afraid that they're going to be wrong. People are afraid that they're going to sound silly. So instead of putting a stake in the ground, they share the information and they leave it to their audience to draw conclusions. They don't come in with the big, powerful conclusion. They just share the basic information. And while it can feel emotionally safer to shy away from drawing conclusions, the issue is if you don't draw conclusions, you're not showing people that you're a leader. You're not demonstrating that deeper confidence and that willingness to put a stake in the ground. And those traits are the traits that executives are looking for when they're deciding who to promote within an organization. And I really want you to think about this from the perspective of an executive. Let's say that you are a CEO and you are thinking about who you want to hire onto your executive team. Do you want to hire candidate A who comes to you and says, here's what we're forecasting for next quarter's sales? Or do you want the candidate who comes to you and says, here's what we're forecasting for next quarter's sales? We're seeing that sales are about to slow down, and I think now is the time for us to double down on our marketing. Of course, you're going to want the second candidate. They instill much more confidence when they're speaking to you because they're showing you that they understand what's happening and they're not afraid to figure out what that next step is. So that's who you want to be when you're communicating with executives. You want to be the person who is showing them, I get this deeply and I am not afraid to use my work to help take this business to where it needs to go. One way that you will know if it's time for you to be more conclusive and bring more of this style of speaking into the way you communicate is if you're feeling like your work isn't landing. You're coming in and you're sharing your work with leaders and executives, but something about it isn't having the impact that you want it to have in the room. If that's the case, I want you to zoom out and ask yourself, am I sharing information with them? Or am I helping them draw conclusions? If you're too heavily in information sharing mode and you're not being conclusive and sharing those broader insights and suggestions, that is likely one reason why your audience isn't engaging super deeply with the work that you're sharing. Now, what I will say is being conclusive feels scary. It requires confidence, and if it's not something that you've been doing, when you start doing it, it's going to feel uncomfortable. This is normal. This is not a sign that you're doing something wrong. This is just a sign that you're doing something new. I remember when I was in my 9-to-5 career, I was given feedback that I needed to be more conclusive and I needed to be way less afraid to share a direction or share an opinion. And at first, it felt so vulnerable. It felt like I was intellectually naked, like I was exposing myself and my thoughts and my opinions to everyone around me in this incredibly exposing way. But I stuck with it because it was really important for me to grow and to develop this communication skill. And the more that I did it, the more natural it started to feel. So don't underestimate yourself and don't tell yourself that you don't have the ability to do this just because it feels hard and scary. Sometimes it takes time for us to adjust to new ways of speaking and new ways of taking up space. But it's worth it to go through that adjustment period because when you have this skill, you are able to get full credit for all the brilliance that you bring into your role and all the incredible work that you're doing. And with that, I want to pivot to the next verbal communication tool that will help you sound confident, which is being directive. This is one of my favorites because this is one that I really struggled with when I was in the early days of my career. And now it's something that I love doing and that doesn't feel scary or uncomfortable to me at all. And that makes me excited because I know that this transformation is possible for you as well. So being directive means telling your audience what to do. So just like when someone is giving driving directions, they are telling the person what to do. Turn left, go straight, turn right. That's exactly what being directive is. We're issuing commands to our audience and we're telling them what we want them to do. So here are some examples of what it sounds like to be directive. You would say things like, "Thanks for joining today's meeting. Today, I'll be asking you to make a decision on the budget for next quarter." Or here's an example of doing a one-on-one with your boss. You might say something like, "Okay, I have 3 updates for you. The first 2 updates are just FYIs, but for the third update, I'm going to need your approval on next steps." So these are all examples of being directive. Now, being directive is related to being conclusive, but it's not exactly the same. While both of these tools are more assertive forms of communication, being conclusive is about drawing a conclusion from the information, and being directive is about directing your audience on what you want them to do. From a vibe and energy perspective, they both feel similar. They both feel like, oh, I am in here, I am taking up space, I am moving things forward. But functionally, they're a little bit different. Now, here's why being directive makes us look confident. When we are in a group and we are surrounded by other people, it is human nature for us to try to figure out the hierarchy. Something that we do as humans when we're in a group is we ask ourselves, who's in charge here? Who's the person who has the answers here? Who's the person who's telling us what to do? And when someone steps up and self-identifies as the person in charge or the person who's telling everyone what to do, we automatically attribute a whole bunch of qualities to that person. We assume that they know what they're doing. We assume that they're competent. We trust them to lead us. It is human nature for us humans to look for a leader. So when someone in a room steps up and signals to us, "Hey, everyone, I'm the leader," we think to ourselves, great, awesome. I can lean back. I can trust this person. They seem to know what they're doing. So when you're communicating with your audience and you're being direct and you're telling them what to do, you are activating that dynamic. You are activating the dynamic that tells everyone in the room, "Hey, everybody, I'm the person in charge. I'm telling you what to do. I'm the leader." And all of your stakeholders, even if they're more senior than you, even if they're executives, they're all going to assume that you have a greater level of competence and a greater leadership capacity simply because you are giving them directions and telling them what to do. Now, I want to talk about a barrier that women in particular often encounter when it comes to being directive. And warning, I'm going to be using explicit language. So if you're listening with a kid around, you might want to put on headphones. But I want to take a minute to talk about the fear of being seen as bossy or the fear of being seen as a quote unquote bitch. This is a huge cultural bias and stereotype that prevents women from being directive. We think to ourselves, I don't want people to think I'm bossy. I don't want people to see me as a quote unquote bitch. So I'm going to be gentle and I'm going to be very soft in the way that I interact with my audience. And this can really prevent us from being directive. We don't want to tell our audience what to do because we're afraid that this will damage our reputation. So I'm going to share what is just my personal opinion on this. If this feels empowering to you, take it. If it doesn't feel empowering to you, that's okay too. The goal is to find what feels best to you. But I personally think the bossy equals bitchy stereotype is incredibly harmful to women. And I think that when we stay quiet out of fear of being labeled bitchy, we are strengthening the stereotype. And my personal view is I want to break the stereotype. I want to show people and teach people that direct doesn't always equal bitchy. And I want to be so good at being direct that it will be like a sneak attack on my audience. They won't even realize that I was being direct because I was able to do it in a way that felt so seamless and so good to them. That is what personally gets me motivated and helps me stop feeling stuck and heavy under the weight of stereotypes, is for me to say, no problem, I will do this so well that you won't even realize that I just stealth attacked you with a ton of directness because I'm just that good. That personally fires me up. And the good news is it is possible to do this. It is possible to be direct, be assertive, be conclusive in a way where your audience feels the power of it in a positive way. They don't feel like they're being pushed. They don't feel like they're being attacked. They feel like they're being led by someone who is inspiring them to take things to the next level. That is how I approach this. And I want to help you do that. I want to help you learn to be both conclusive and direct while still being liked and admired. And that leads me perfectly into the third and final tool that I'm going to be teaching you, which is the tool of enthusiasm. When you use words that demonstrate that you possess enthusiasm around the information that you're sharing with your audience, it has two very positive effects. Number one, it makes you look more confident. I'll be going into that in just a minute. But number two, enthusiasm helps provide balance to the directness and conclusiveness that I've been talking about on today's episode. When we pair directness with enthusiasm, or we pair conclusiveness with enthusiasm, it takes that assertive force that we are bringing into the room and it transmutes that force from an aggressive feeling force to an inspirational feeling force. And I'm going to get abstract for just a minute, but I think this will be very helpful for your learning. When you think about being assertive, which is essentially what I'm teaching in today's episode, being conclusive and being direct are both forms of being assertive. So when you think about speaking assertively, what is underlying that assertiveness is force. You're forcing the room. You're pushing everyone in the room in a certain direction. And when we think about the idea of force, there can be different kinds of force. You can push people aggressively in a way where they feel pushed and it doesn't feel good. And they're thinking, why are you pushing me? I don't like being pushed around. Or we can leverage inspiration and excitement and use that to create force in the room. Think about it. When you're excited about something, when you're enthusiastic about something, you want to get moving and you want to get into it. So when you help your audience feel excited and inspired about something, they want to move. They want to get into it. So you're moving them and you're creating force in the room without actually being forceful. And you do this by bringing enthusiasm into the way that you speak. So what I'm going to be doing for the final section of today's episode is number one, I'm going to be explaining to you how to use enthusiasm to sound more confident. But number two, I'm also going to teach you how to use enthusiasm to balance out the assertive nature of conclusiveness and directness so that you can be direct and you can be powerful in a room while also being likable. I strongly believe that this is possible for all of us. And this idea that the only way to be forceful is through aggression and through being overly bossy, I think this comes from closed-mindedness. It comes from a misunderstanding of what it means to lead. It comes from thinking that leading is pushing people and shoving people in a direction that they don't want to be shoved. What if leading is simply getting people to feel an emotion inside that stirs them into action? That is what good leadership is. And enthusiasm is one of the most powerful tools that we have to get there. So let me teach you how to leverage enthusiasm to sound more confident and to be a powerful, assertive leader who is also likable. So I'm going to start by defining what I mean when I say enthusiasm. I don't mean unfettered, uncontained enthusiasm. So I am not suggesting that you walk into a room full of executives and say, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. You should be so excited. I'm very pumped up about this work, and I can't wait for you all to be pumped up about it too. That is not what I'm recommending. I'm recommending strategic enthusiasm that is tied to the positive outcomes that you are creating for the business. So, for example, instead of kicking off a meeting by saying, today we are going to review the project plan for next quarter, you could inject enthusiasm into that and say, I'm excited to walk you all through the project plan for next quarter. This plan will enable us to get our product out to market faster. In this example, I expressed enthusiasm. Instead of just introducing the topic to my audience, I told them why I was excited about it. Now, the reason that enthusiasm lands as confident and not just fluffy, hypey energy is because the enthusiasm is directly tied to a positive outcome for the business. I didn't just say I'm excited about this project plan. I said I'm excited about this project plan because it's helping us get our product out to market. When I use enthusiasm in this way and I tie it to a real outcome that my work is creating in the business, I look more confident to my audience because what I am communicating to them at a deeper level is that I believe in the work that I'm doing. I have enough belief in my competence to declare and own the positive impact that I am creating. So this enthusiasm is a way of owning the impact that you are having. When you say, I'm excited to walk you through this work, it's going to help our company achieve X. What you're saying is, I am skilled enough to help our company achieve X. This conveys deep amounts of confidence. And now the beautiful thing about this is that when you use enthusiasm to convey the confidence, it doesn't land cocky. When someone says, I'm excited to walk you through this marketing plan, it's going to help us increase sales. The audience isn't going to be thinking, oh my God, she's so cocky. I can't believe she's saying that her plan is going to increase sales. No. Your audience, especially if they're an executive audience, is going to be thinking, heck yes. Did someone say sales? I want more sales. I like this woman and what she is saying. Let me perk up and pay attention. So when we express enthusiasm through our words and we link it to a real outcome that our work is creating in the business, not only do we look more confident, but we look more confident in a way that doesn't land as cocky. And even more importantly, you can use enthusiasm to balance out the force of conclusiveness and directness. So I talked earlier about how when we're being direct with our audience, we're being conclusive with our audience. We want to find a way to do that while still being likable. Not because we want to people please, but because we want to be leaders who are inspiring. We want to be the type of leaders that people want to follow, which means when we're being direct with our audience and our stakeholders, we want to figure out a way to make them want to follow our directness. And the way that we do that is by introducing enthusiasm and pairing that enthusiasm with our directness. So what I want to do is I want to share with you 3 examples. First, I want to share with you an example of kicking off a meeting. Then I'm going to share with you an example of kicking off a meeting and being direct. And then I'm going to share a 3rd example of kicking off a meeting and being direct and demonstrating enthusiasm. And I want you to listen to hear how it feels different as I add on those layers. So if I kick off a meeting in a plain vanilla style without any of these tools, I might say something like, today we'll be reviewing the latest product design. Now, if I want to be direct, I would say, today we'll be reviewing the latest product design. What I need from you is your approval to move forward into production. Now, you can see that when I add in the directness, I automatically land as more confident. But now, watch what happens when I layer in directness and enthusiasm at the same time. That would sound something like, today I will be sharing the latest product design. I'm super excited because these design features are expected to drive repeat purchases. What I need from you today is your approval to move forward into production. So in this example, I used enthusiasm and directness. I talked about how I'm excited because this product design is going to lead to repeat purchasers, and I was direct and I told my audience exactly what I need from them. When I do both at the same time, I create a double whammy ripple effect of strength and confidence. I demonstrate confidence through my directness. I demonstrate confidence through my enthusiasm and my willingness to own the positive impact that my work is having on the organization. And the enthusiasm balances out the directness. And it doesn't feel like I'm hammering my audience over the head with directness and with telling them how amazing I am. I'm introducing it in this subtle, gentle, strategic way that positions me as a highly competent and confident leader, but also as someone who is highly inspirational and likable. So many people get stuck on how to be assertive and how to take up space because the only model that we are taught is this model of being aggressive. And when I think about assertiveness, leading with confidence, being direct, I think about the total opposite. I think about how can we make our audience feel so good, so excited, so pumped up that there is a natural momentum in the room. So when I hear the words assertiveness or directness, I don't have a negative connotation. I don't think like, oh, those are bad things. I think, heck yes, I get to show up and tell my audience what to be excited about. I get to make everyone in the room feel inspired, and I get to look really good while doing it. Now, I want to leave you with a simple way of remembering everything that I taught in today's episode. And the way that you will remember what I taught is through A, B, C, D, E. That stands for always be conclusive, direct, and enthusiastic. When you incorporate these things into the way you speak, you will not only land as more confident, but you will land as more likable and inspirational as a leader. Thank you so freaking much for tuning in to today's episode. And if this resonated with you and you are realizing that you want to develop this confident, inspirational leadership voice, this is what I do with my clients inside my signature program, the Art of Speaking Up Academy. Inside the academy, I teach you how to speak like a leader without having to be overly aggressive and without having to abandon your authentic personality. It is truly not about being the most forceful communicator in the room. It is about being the most strategic communicator in the room. Inside the Art of Speaking Up Academy, you will learn how to do this, and you will get to do the inner psychological work to grow your confidence so that you have the inner confidence to take up space and speak in a bigger, bolder way. The absolute best way to join me inside of this program is to click the link in the show notes and add yourself to the waitlist. The next cohort of the Art of Speaking Up Academy starts in the fall, but there are just a few spaces left in the cohort at the time of me recording this, which means I'm not going to be doing a big public open enrollment for the fall cohort because there's not a lot of space left in it. Right now, the only way to get a space is to join the waitlist, When you join the waitlist, you will be invited to enroll early and secure your spot behind the scenes. To join the waitlist, click the link in the show notes or go to jessguzikcoaching.com/academy. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will catch you in next week's episode. Bye.